my thing is the experience I've learned is what I've gained the most on it, and friendships that I've had for 20 years, 30 years, as long as I've lived. To me, that's what I get the most out of being in this industry. It's a burnout. It's hard, but it's unbelievable, accolades and warm feeling when you see somebody wearing something that you did. It's really amazing.
Let me introduce you.
Okay.
And I think the way I'd like to introduce you is I'd like to share with the audience that this is JR Jenks. Now, if you look right there and right there, I wrote it two different ways.
Okay, got it.
Is one of those correct?
Actually, the first one's technically correct because I'm a Junior Jenks, not Junior Junior, but JR. But everybody calls me Junior. James Earl Jenks Jr. is my
James Earl Jenks.
James Earl Jenks Jr. Yes.
Well, let me ask you. This isn't one of the questions. By the way, I want to share with the audience that you actually have been provided 45 questions in advance so that you can sort of wrap your head around what this is going to be like.
That's a lot.
To be transparent, you are aware of the questions that are being asked. A couple of them you don't know. Yeah. A couple of them you do not know are coming. And the first one you don't know is coming because I want to ask you. So as a junior, were you always happy with being called a junior, or did you struggle with that over the years?
Junior?
It's a two-sided question. It's got me a lot in my life. And it's also, you always be compared to your dad, kind of thing. My dad was a good guy. My dad helped the industry become what it is. He was one of the early entrepreneur pioneers of the industry. When he started at Hanson's, he pioneered a brand called California Surfing Products with Don, selling Hanson surfboards, Aloha surf racks, either Primo or Sea Suits, I can't remember, and a couple other items. And then he was very good friends with a guy named Bill Yerkes, who started Sundeck. So once he got to Florida's fine. Then selling all those items, because back then it was a phone call. There weren't reps, it was in the 60s, it was just pioneering.
Operator.
So I can't imagine the stories. I've heard some amazing stories. It's helped me a lot, but it's also, part of it is like, your dad owed me money.
Where's my money, motherfucker?
Or something like that. So whatever.
There's something that I found delightful about you when we first met, that you were you're the son of the guy who founded OP, right? You're that guy.
You got the wrong guy. I'm the dude, man.
What who you were and are is you're a regular guy.
I'm just a regular guy.
You like to have fun. You work hard. You know your stuff. And what I've always appreciated about you is you sort of own what you know, and you also own what you don't know, which is a very rare thing to find, because there's so many people that are trying to sort of pretend they know or BS that they know something that they don't know. And it's not very helpful, because by the time you realize that person didn't know what they were talking about, 6 months later, you're like, if that person would have just told me the truth.
You can't handle the truth.
Yeah, right.
Gosh, this would have been easier.
Yeah, you gotta own your shortcomings. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I've owned it. I know what I'm good at. It's like I kick butt in Illustrator, but I suck at Photoshop. So I mean, guys like you and other people that I work with, but I've got an idea in my head, and that's the way it works. So, and the one thing that my dad taught me, and I've learned through the industry, and actually in one of your questions and what you are, it is networking.
Yeah, networking, nice.
It is making your tribe, whether it was the OP tribe or the Quicksilver tribe or the Gotcha tribe or the Billabong tribe, and, and all these other things, you rely on it, and it's just like a football team. Your strengths in numbers, it's, you can be an ego guy if you want to be, but it's lonely, and I would rather help and be a part. When I worked at Pacific Somewhere, which we'll probably get into, but you learn your shortcomings real quick. You're not good at it, and I'll explain. So there you go. Try and be the best I can be. That's all I can do.
It's appreciated, and I believe that a lot of people probably feel the same way. So I just wanted to sort of say it out loud.
Thank you.
One of the things that resonated with me, and I like to spend my time with humans that are easy to hang out with, that are regular. So thank you. Thanks you for joining. So here's the reminder here is that the ingredients that you have to have in order to be on Crashing Success is fundamentally, you got to care about people.
I hate people, man. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
And what crashing success is really valuable, very extremely valuable advice from years of experience and expertise and successes and failures. It's free advice that we're providing to entrepreneurs at any age and at any stage in their entrepreneurial spirit. Right. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to take 50 years of experience, we're trying to condense it down into this program and follow it the way that we describe it. What we're saying is that you're going to arrive at success faster than you would have.
How do you like them apples?
Yeah, it's like your 40 questions or 20 questions. If somebody got 3 or 4 pieces of advice out of 20 that worked for them, then that's the good thing. You know what I mean? That's the way you got to look at it. If one thing helped you move forward, then rock on. And that's the way you go. Yeah, exactly. So
that's sort of a reminder of why we're here. And I'm going to go ahead and just jump into the questions.
Okay,
let's start.
How exactly did you get started in this business?
Okay, well, as I mentioned, my dad was working for Hanson Surfboards and selling surfboards and helping Don manage it. And he was a great salesman. When he started his business with California Surfing Products, he saw a need for clothing. You know, the Gidget movie has already come and gone since then. It was a shortboard era. It was, still hippies and love and peace.
Far out.
But surfing was in this really golden age of movement. I'll say from the 70s through the late 80s, early 90s, kind of thing. And it was virgin territory. It's like buying a house in California on the beach in the 60s for 40 grand, 4 million now, not 4 million, even higher than that. But anyway.
Yeah.
So he started that brand. And the short story on that is there was a brand called Ocean Pacific Surfboards, and it was a local brand. And that was the logo with the guy surfer in it and stuff like that. And they were having troubles. So Hanson's bought the company for, I don't know, a couple grand or something like that. The boards, the blanks, the resin, the whole bit and done. And they were going to use it as a rental board business. So when my dad came back from this and they started talking about how can we make stuff, he wanted to make Aloha print shirts because anybody that went to Hawaii back then bought Aloha, a floral print shirt.
Aloha.
That meant you went to Hawaii. If you were wearing that means you went to Hawaii. It's like I went to Disneyland, I bought a shirt that says Disneyland, I went to Disneyland.
Go to Disneyland.
They were talking about it, doing things, and he liked the name Sunset. He knew Eddie Wright at Sunset, and Eddie says, no, you can't have my name to do this thing. And I remember him asking me what I thought of it, but I was a whole 12 years old, but I said Seaside because that's where I surfed. I like Seaside. He was sitting there and just one of those things, and the board was sitting in the office, and he looked and he goes, OP, Ocean Pacific Sunwear. That was it. It was like, duh. It was like sitting right in front of him. So they agreed, they did it. And that's how Ocean Pacific Sunwear got its name, was that. And the big thing was Hang Ten had an embroidery of the 2 feet. He wanted something that had some kind of name, or some kind of an insignia. And OP was going to be the logo. And Ocean Pacific Sunwear is the brand name. So that's the brand and that's the logo. It's like Quicksilver and Mountain and Wave, or Billabong and Three Ways. So that's what it was, and he could do it. And the funniest thing, it's like when he started, everybody would have called, "What's op?" What's op mean? Kind of thing. And it was OP. It's the same thing when Rusty came out. They called it R. forever. Kind of.
Yeah. So
anyway, that's how it started. So when I got into it, I was 16 years old. OP was already, that's 1976. So I got a Ford mini truck, Ford Courier. My dad said, if you want to get some gas money, come up to Oceanside after school and help sweep in the warehouse and help unload fabric and blah, blah, blah. So I'd go to school and then I'd pack up and school got out at 2. I'd be up there by 2:40 and I would work till 5. And I learned fabric, cutting. I was not running a warehouse, but I was learning all these different things and I just liked it. OP was on its growth thing. And that was my intro into the world of apparel. And I was hooked ever since.
I need more.
So it was already on its rise. So you knew this thing was sort of skyrocketing.
Yeah.
Were your friends wearing it? Like what was your perception of this?
Mine was it was our company, and we knew things were going on, and stuff. My dad was working every day, and my mom was working at the Coast Dispatch as a assistant to somebody, and we were, kind of latchkey kids. But in my 11th and 12th grade, 70, I graduated in 78. So 77 and 78, I started seeing more of it around. Like I would see kids at school wearing it, and I would see, and my name kind of started going out. Not that I was some crazy ass popular kid, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
I was a hybrid weird kid, and not weird in a sense. I was a surfer, I was a skateboarder, and I was a football player, and I was a motorcycle rider.
I do it all, baby.
Back then, you were either one of those. You didn't cross. We were action sports before it was action sports. I love skating as much as I love surfing, as much as I love motorcycle riding was our life. I mean, we did that all the time. We were riding with Walter Hoffman and Jerry Lopez and Dave Rockland of Surfline, Grubby Clark of Clark. These were all normal people that we rode because my dad knew them and from the surf industry and in the apparel industry. So I started seeing a guy named Greg Weaver, who's a famous skateboarder, in a pool wearing a pair of OP shorts, and then you just started seeing it more and more. 77, 78, that's when I knew it was like blowing up. And that was skyrocket time. It was just basically printing money.
And I'm going to the moon.
That's beautiful. These are the brands at the time of when I thought that OP was becoming something. I'm going to put it in a group with, there was a brand called Atari. There was a brand called Star Wars.
Yes.
There was a brand called Vans.
Yes.
And there was a brand called OP.
Yes.
If you grew up in this era of late 70s, early 80s, those four brands were a part of your life while Hang 10 was popular. And then what happened was, my impression of it was surfing was still sort of related to Gidget and the Beach Boys.
I love the Beach Boys.
And it hadn't really officially been applied to apparel as well. Is there such a thing as a surfing brand? Right? You would say there's an Aloha shirt.
Well, when OP came out, I'll say it was the slowdown of Hang 10. You had Jansen, you had McGregor, you had a lot of these brands that if you Google up McGregor surf ads, there's a famous one in the Hobie shop. Okay, you have those guys that were that kind of 50s brand, early 60s, in the mid 60s, that kind of slowed down in that 70s, where OP was the new heir apparent, to take it to a national level. I think what they did is it's just like the Gidget movie brought surfing to mainstream. OP brought a Southern California groovy, surfy lifestyle to people in Michigan and Missouri, and and you had that kind of thing in the East Coast of Florida a bit, you know what I mean? There's things, but this brand kind of it transcended across. A famous quote from a guy named Gary Michaels, who you might have met, our national sales manager. He was Hang 10, then left and came to OP. He drew a line like across, from East Coast to West Coast, and we only sell here down. We don't sell here up, kind of thing. And but you could go to anybody at some point, my age or whatever, younger, and OP comes up, they're going to go, I had those corduroy shorts. Oh my God, I used to wear the rainbow shirt. Oh my God, when I was a teenager, and stuff like that. So you have people from the early 70s up to their late 80s, younger than me, obviously, but that wore it and knew about it. So it was a national phenomenon, but it was basically saying, I love California.
God, I love California.
I love that. And so for me, what made the reason that I'm even talking to you right now is because of OP. I pursued this career because I thought that this was the first brand. So it was Vans and OP.
Yeah.
These were the two brands that spoke to the life I was living.
Right. Yeah.
Right. No other brand had ever done that before for me, and at least at that age.
Yeah.
And I thought, you mean you could actually do this for a living?
You guys are getting paid?
Yeah. Thank God. Right.
Well, because I thought I had to wear a suit and work in a tall building in a cubicle.
Yeah.
And OP said, no, you don't.
No.
And Vans said, no, you don't. You could be a skateboarder.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't very good, but it said you could actually do this thing that I never thought you could actually do before.
No, you know what? It's funny. The way you said it, that was a uniform. I mean, it was a pair of Vans, showed you were an active kid, a skater or a surfer. Okay. And cord shorts, I wish they would have been a little longer.
Who wears shorts?
And whether it's an OP shirt or whatever it is, because a lot of those things, growing up in the 70s, you had these shirts that would have like some kind of a surf guy and it would say California, or it would be Colt 45 or a Van or whatever it may be, those California surfing shirts and stuff like that. But this help make a brand that, when it was started, OP it was what they called silky shirts. It was Hoffman fabric, silky shirts, and a corduroy short and a pair of trunks. And that was it. But now when you have a short that says OP on it, you're a surfer. And that's good. And you're a lifestyle guy. So yeah, there you go.
I love that. And so that became my love affair with brands, and what brands, how we can get so emotionally connected to a brand that when I take that brand and I slap it on myself, it says, use your word, it says, this is the tribe I'm part of.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. And that's the way you do it.
Now that we have this new terminology that we never had before, what areas of the action sports or apparel industry do you like the most specifically?
I still like the creative side of it. Now it's splintered off. There's, skate, and there's surf, and there's snow. There's all these splinter businesses now. I'll always be a surfer. I still surf to this day. But to me, the beach market and the surf market will always be my love. And but I like creating. I still can design, depending who I'm designing for. Yeah. But I sure like working with people that are younger than me, that creative, and I'm bringing like some sense down, and they're up thinking it and going, but you can't do that. You got to do this to make that. You got to do that to make this. And that's where I like meeting in the middle. You know what I value the most is the relationships and learning from all the things that I've done. From being a design kid, and frankly, I'll tell you, I didn't go to college. I went to the College of OP. I learned this garment industry from ground up. I learned everything about fabrics. I learned everything about cutting. I made markers, what they call, the patterns that you make the yields. I spread fabric. I cut fabric. I damn near cut my finger off. But I learned all these things, and then I ended up running a little division we called Special Edition. And there's a goofy ad with me running that I'm kind of halfway in the air with the surfboard, and it says, "Let Junior build a pair for you." And my brother was involved, and some friends of mine, and we would cut and make special trunks for surf shops, and they would get these ideas. My thing is the experience I've learned is what I've gained the most on it, and friendships that I've had for 20 years, 30 years, as long as I've lived. To me, that's what I get the most out of being in this industry. It's a burnout. It's hard, but it's unbelievable, accolades and warm feeling when you see somebody wearing something that you did. It's really amazing. It's really amazing.
Totally agreed. I remember doing a bunch of work for Quicksilver way back, and what we ended up, sort of the specializing in was the department store graphics.
Right.
Well, department store graphics, we'd walk around Disneyland, and my artwork was on everybody.
I don't know how to put this, but I'm kind of a big deal.
And so, my family or, friends or whatever would say, "Hey, you want to go over and tell them that you designed that?" I said, "Absolutely not." But man, I get chills, goosebumps right now thinking about seeing my work on somebody. Somebody made a decision to buy this partially.
It is. It's amazing to see. And it's funny when you say that, because my wife's a Disney freak. So I'm a Disney freak, but we go all the time. But you see the masses there, you know what I mean? And when you penetrate it outside of your core, then you're real. They're a very interesting way to do business now, because the internet world has turned your this into a retail shop.
Yeah.
That's my family.
Yeah.
And you don't have to go to Hanson's or Hobie's and things. But the good part about going to those things is you see it and you feel it and you touch it. Our new generations get used to seeing it on here, test it, look at it, and go from there. But there's a mixture of both. You definitely got to have both dynamics, but now you have that at your fingertips. So
I'm just waiting for Apple to come out with the smell, so it'll smell like coconut wax. All they got to do is give me coconut.
Then everybody's going to do it. It's like, you're a surfer. There's nothing like the smell of a new surfboard or a new wetsuit.
What's that smell?
What's a mistake you made early on that you wish you could go back and fix?
I should have been a fireman. I would have been retired.
Let me tell you something!
I was so engrossed in the design side and the merchandising side, learning more about that. I understood sales, and I understood a little bit about the business. But once I started working for a retailer, I really understand that sell-through was a part of it. Your ego is checked at the door. It sold or it didn't. So part of me was, I wish I would have learned a bigger side of the business, but I've learned it since then. But to me, you've got to have all phases. You have to think of these things. And now with the internet world and the accessibility from your idea that you could find and going, well, geez, this guy's making it and retailing for $20. I want to retail it for $100 because I'm cool. You know what I mean? And people are going to go, I don't care how cool you are. It's not worth $100. You know what I mean? But I just always been creative. So I'm always a problem solver.
If there was a problem, yo, I'll solve it.
And do you find a lot of creatives, do you feel like there's either a disconnect or a bridge that they're not connecting because there's a whole nother side to it's the business of, right? Like, so you can make what you believe is the best thing that's ever been made.
Right.
Nobody buys it.
Right.
Now it's being judged and it said, well, it can't be the best thing that was ever made because it didn't sell.
Correct.
Well, it actually could be the best thing that ever made and not sell.
Right. You got to take it on the chin and move forward. I can tell you right now, my biggest lesson I learned on what was good or what was bad from things I did was when I worked retail, and I wasn't a retail guy. I was the inside design, merchandising part of OP, and everything we did was no wrong. You know what I mean? You're living in kind of this golden glass shell.
I'm in a glass case of emotion.
And obviously things were happening that I didn't know about. The other outside, it was just, at one point it was $380 million. It was crazy. When I left that world and I became part of this growing a company, PacSun, and we were part of the production team or design and merchandising team, we would have to design it, cost it, go to the buyer and sell it to the buyer, and that person would make it a test, and I got to make 144, which is impossible. You could, a little bit back then, late in the early 90s, still there was domestic stuff. And then if it turned into a buy, then it went to 1,200 or 2,400 units. So you lived and died by how it sold through. And even then, now you could sort of fake internet business, not fake in the world, but you could 3D CAD all these things and put them up and digitally print and connect and speed to market now tells you what's working and what's not working. But there isn't a big risk of making all these garments and then going out and selling them and stuff. So once I learned a little bit more about that, it focused my design ideas. Not that I only stayed in this box and I didn't think outside, but it did make me focus better.
You focus makes you stronger.
So I love that part of it because it just really helped me focus in today's world if you don't listen to your sales guys that are boots on the ground for your design, you're here and they're idiots, it's not going to work, whether it's price, whether it's look, whether it's whatever, and vice versa. If you're designing ideas that the market doesn't want because there's too many options now and it can't work, then you're going to go, okay, I got to figure out how to make it work.
Yeah, that's great. Gave me another question, which I won't ask right now, but I'm going to move on to the next one.
And we're moving forward now.
What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, but is unsure where to start?
There's a few things. Number one, you got to have some financing behind you.
Dude, we need the money.
And it doesn't mean that's the end of the world. If it's $5,000 or $100,000 or $500,000 from a rich uncle, you know what I mean? Whatever it may be, you got to come up with a business plan. And the business plan is that your ideas are your ideas. You already got that down. But then it's executing the ideas out, whether now you may just be 100% internet business, or you want to do and go to higher end specialty stores. You want to be a designer, this person, whatever it may be, or just a t-shirt graphic guy because you're a really great artist. You got to do some due diligence in where you want your product to be. They'll always test you if they like the idea, but then you're going to do a season or two until they can count on you, and then it turns into a brand. Then you turn into a business. But yes, you need to have all that kind of. You've got to kind of have a plan, a business plan laid out, and some financing behind it, so your dream can come true. Because your dream will not come true, unfortunately.
Remember, give up on your dreams now while you're still young.
That's still setting a plan, and making sure that you're prepared for we talk all the time about building the runway.
Yes, yeah.
Building the plane.
Yes, exactly.
And then having enough money for fuel.
Exactly. Yeah. It's
So
a beautiful plane. Yeah. It's a beautiful plane just sitting there, kind of.
You need all those three things.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
How do you approach innovation? And what do you do to stay ahead of the competition?
We were ahead of them and her.
Getting intel on retails, what's going on is key. What's happening, what's selling, what's not selling. You need to have like a core group of people that you kind of can always call, and stuff like that. And go from there, because it's so much faster now. Like that company Shein, that is fast fashion, and it comes like that. I could type in, and go, I want a retro Hawaiian shirt, and 80 things are going to come up from $30 to $130, from this brand to that brand. At least in the world now, before, like say in the 70s, 80s, you were going to Europe to find trends. You were going here to find trends. I could sit with you on a computer and we could go find out what's going on in Japan and tomorrow, find out what's in Europe tomorrow, kind of thing. So, and just like being here, Hawaii culture and retail is different than California, which is different than Florida, which is different than Mid-Atlantic, which is different than Northeast, and we're all in the same thing, but just by region alone.
Yeah. How many factors in the manufacturing process are out of your control?
I'm out of control! Oh my God! Oh.
Tariffs, costs going up, people wanting costs to come down. It's out of your control. I'm dealing with that right now. I've just joined a company called World Textiles, and we are what they call a vertical manufacturer. And they have knitting, weaving, digital printing, and they own their own factories. So we make for a lot of brands, and we also can develop for a lot of things. Now you can find all these resources that are, we'll call vertical, or you've got an agent that can help you do things like that. So you sell it, they want it for X, and they put it at, $49.99, and it goes down in what they call their going out price. And you got to guarantee the sell through. But if they had I don't mean to cuss, but if they had a shitty season, rain, this, that, whatever it is, but your stuff sold through and the rest of the class didn't sell through, then they're going, okay, well, here, we need a markdown check for this, amount so we can buy you next year. I go, but how did I sell? Well, you guys sold great, but the class did so well. So my buying thing is doing. I go, so I'm getting punished because the class didn't do well, kind of thing. So I've had things like that happen. So some things are out of your control. There's these devastating factors that can come in. And look at Florida. I mean, there's a hurricane going through every month, in the summertime. Amazing. They're resilient, but it can affect the shop and your business. So there's a lot.
Adaptability.
Yes, adaptability is very
good.
All
right.
Yes.
I'm writing that word. There's also a word I wrote on the board, which was pivot.
Yes.
The single biggest lesson in life or business that changed everything from that day forward.
To me, it's two things. Once, I keep going back to my time at PacSun because I learned that if it doesn't sell through, it's not cool. I could be designing stuff, and I was designing stuff for PacSun when I was running my tenure there and stuff like that, and I was taking leave, and I was designing stuff that I thought was the biggest freaking kook stuff I've ever seen in my life, but it was hot. Okay, so I'm designing it, I'm not wearing it, I'm finding it and doing it. I mean, it's ironic. We were making jeans, in those 90s that were 20-inch wide legs, and like, oh my God, who wears this Limp Biscuit, blah blah, whatever it may be, and then you move on to another thing, stuff like that, and then I see kids now that look, I go, we're designing that 20 years ago, you know what I mean? It's just funny to see these circles, but that, and then once I understood how I could work with factories over like in Asia, where say in America, or it doesn't matter, India, any country, here. In the 70s and 80s, you had a fabric company you bought from, you had a trim company you bought from, you made your own patterns, you did all this stuff. You had to have infrastructure for all that stuff. A button guy, a zipper guy, you know what I mean? Everything was separately component and you had to put it all together. Now, I come up with an idea, I send a sample, and now they become the one-stop shop. So it helps. The whole development time went from, months and months to hours.
This is the future.
Sure.
And it really helped you out. So that to me was the biggest thing because it could keep the creative process going. It was a really great thing for me.
Okay, I got a really big one for you.
Really big.
How do you handle failure or setbacks? And can you share a moment when you turned a failure into a success?
Once I understood more about sell-throughs, I always would take bad news as why is it bad? Okay. Why didn't it sell? You have to take it on the chin. You have to own it, and it's a sour pill, but you have to take those things and go, I tweaked it this way. And then all of a sudden you're going to go, yeah, perfect. It sold. And now it's kicking butt again. You know what I mean? So you have to take those things and own it, but you just got to learn it. It's just like surfing, if we were out and the set of the day comes in and I sat out too far and I missed it and you got it, I'm really happy for you, but also I'm going to move in and be in the right spot. You know what I mean? So it's like life. If you don't, you remember those bad ones more than you remember the good ones, because that's the ones that stick with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the hardest part.
Yeah. So we're trying to sort of coin some terms with crashing success, but
own it then. Own it.
The failures are actually what the ingredients are for success.
Correct. I can tell you right now, going back to an OP story, my dad was saying this while he was alive, and I was talking to somebody else, a guy named Dennis O'Reilly, who's one of our early designers.
Yeah.
He was telling me, he goes, OP was at 30 million and growing like crazy, and they were broke. We
got no food. We got no jobs. Our pets' heads are falling off.
So the smartest thing my dad did was he heard about this term called licensing. And he took this problem where they're begging money. They've got orders coming out of everything coming. It's just constant orders, and that's financing that business. So once he goes, STS is going to be my screen print licensee, and Apparel Craft's going to be this. Those guys had the financial power and the production power to make it. OP helped with the design and did what they did best. They were creative. They did all this stuff, and they helped these licensees, and then they built it. And that's when it went from 30 million to 100 million to 200 million and stuff like that. So you've got to be able to rely on that kind of stuff, and that will help you, go forward and stuff. It was a crashing success. I mean, in a sense of what it was crashing, and then it turned into a success. But you just had to do it. I mean, they weren't ready to close the doors, but they couldn't do anything. They had rail cars back then full of corduroy, that they couldn't pay for. So, and you have orders and people that are going, where's my stuff? You know what I mean? And so it's the best worst scenario you could ever imagine, kind of thing.
I love the behind the scenes of what you think's happening versus what is actually happening.
I'm afraid it's true. There's no other wizard except me.
Yeah. I'm sure, Steve Jobs at Macintosh, and when they were doing all that kind of thing, there's 80 computers that are in a trash can with sledgehammers through them, you know what I mean? And stuff like that. So yeah.
I'm going insane.
So it's not what it is now.
Okay, I'm going to remove one answer from this, which is you cannot answer OP.
Okay.
What brand do you wish you had created?
Oh my God. I am the weirdest chameleon you've ever met.
He really is a chameleon.
My music goes from Lawrence Welk to Motorhead. Okay. So I'm a preppy nerd. I love polo. I've always liked it because I like the quality of it. I love Ren Spooner because I just like the cleanliness of it. But I'm also dark seas. You know what I mean? Yeah, and I'm also Moon Eyes. The only thing I wish we had was, I wish OP was still in our family. My dad had retired and let somebody else run it. Unfortunately, they had to sell it, and stuff like that. If anything, I wish that could have stayed in our family, and that part of it. I've helped with some licensees or, whatever it may be. But that's about the only one, because I still get asked today, why don't you do something with OP? And I go, we don't even own it, kind of thing. So, but who knows? You never know what happens. I'd love it if it came back into the family and somebody.
Full circle.
Yeah, it would be fun. It would be fun.
Maybe one day.
What's one thing you wish you had known before you started in business?
That I remember my dad telling me a couple things. One thing that I did when I was working at OP, and it was really neat how he would let me kind of I could get creative on a few things. And Dennis O'Reilly actually came up with it first. There was this thing called Hydrolite. And what we did is we made Lycra trunks to go surfing in, and it was all about performance and things like that. And then a buddy of mine and I, a guy named Cordover, who passed away years ago, we were working and seeing this neoprene and Lycra thing, and we were doing this thing. And then I worked with somebody on a stitch called a flat lock stitch, and we helped tweak it with this guy who owned the factory. And we were the first ones to come up with a flat lock stitch and do all these kind of things. It changed the industry of how the wetsuits were sewn. We were the first ones to do it. O'Neill was better at it than us and capitalized it. Now you can't buy a sewn suit without it being flat lock. It was overlock, and that's why you have rash guards, is just to protect yourself.
Man, I got a rash, man.
But I remember I said, I want to do this, Dad. I want to do this. He goes, well, write up a business plan. And I'm like going, what's a business plan? I'm 20 years old and I'm just rat, and I know everything, and you're old, and he was probably in his 50s, and And I didn't know how to do that, and so my thing is that you got to surround yourself with people that if somebody's a good finance guy or person, talk to them. If somebody is good at selling, talk to them. Build a plan, and then that way you can help your dream come true.
Love it.
Don't let the dream crash because of the plan, but know that that you're going to hear no more than yes, and so that way you can go. I can still keep going forward with my dream, because they may say, build it on the internet first. Do it this way first. Do it that way. You and I are old school. It's like my son's in digital marketing, and when he talks to me about it, it's Charlie Brown's teacher.
Me?
I'm like, what? I don't care. Whatever. But I know that's the world. And you've told me about how you're into that world, but I understand it and I get it and I embrace it. But I'm old school in the sense of going, who are you sending to Fiji to go surfing? And let's get Photoshop. Let's do these kind of things. But now that world's changed. So you get to think of going, your marketing plan is digital. It's not print. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And when you're developing, you can work full circle in finding a screen printer that can help you buy a blank, do a thing and make your dream on a t-shirt come true. Just like that. Easy. So the availability of helping, and now AI, thank God that came out.
Man, these things are awesome.
I don't use it a lot, but I am Mr. Run-on sentence. You know what I mean? I'll type it, start, and it'll end, 80 million miles down. And it doesn't make a lot of sense, but I run it through AI and I go, wow, college grad, here you go, done, kind of thing. But it helps you. It focuses. And I love that idea. I mean, what you can do in AI and design, you can tell it 7 things, and then it gives you these ideas, and it helps you go, oh, I didn't think of that. Now I can.
Yeah. It's almost having something to bounce ideas off of.
It is. It's scary.
Skynet has become self-aware.
It's scary,
Yeah.
But it's also, if you can use it to your advantage to enhance, then go for it. I mean, take advantage of everything you can. You have to do it.
Love it. I'm writing down tools. So you cannot answer firefighter on this because I know why you answered firefighter previously. If you weren't doing what you do currently, what would you have done?
Oh, I wanted to be an architect.
You're an architect?
I just like drawing it, and I like the inner workings of it. I could draw something, but I hate to say it, I was a bonehead in math. So, I mean, the building would have went, whatever it may have been. But for me, that was unbelievable. So yeah, architect would have been.
So wait a minute. So are you telling me that you know what a T-square is?
Oh, I know what a T-square is. Yeah, I know what a T-square is. I know what a T-square is.
That's a T-square.
What were your top 3 most fearful moments in business? And it doesn't have to be 3. Just I want you thinking about a couple moments that were really scary in business.
Throwing yourself out there and not being accepted. You pour your heart and soul into those things, and you have shit buyers, that like, beat it, kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And other ones that embrace you. So it's always a little bit timid. It's the first step. To me, it was hard. That first step, your anticipation is so excited to show the world that you can do something, or express yourself. It'd be like a songwriter, you know what I mean? And, and going into a place and playing, and everybody's just like, oh, later, kind of thing. Funny, I watched a real short thing on John Oliver. I think it was on 60 Minutes, and he talked about how he wanted to be a comedian, and how they go into this one place, I think it was Scotland, and they all kind of talk about it. There were 3 people in the audience, and then there was 2, and then there was 1. Basically asked her, he goes, "Are you leaving?" She goes, "I'm afraid so." But he didn't give up, and now look at him. You know what I mean? So you're going to crash, but just like your podcast, you can succeed.
I've got a surprise question here, which you just made me think of is, and it's kind of a joke, but how long does it take to become an overnight success?
It's like it happened overnight.
First thing I'm going to say 5 years, 5 to 7 years. I can tell you right now, it's like Ruka was this kind of cool underground thing, and all of a sudden it just, it bursts onto the scene, and you're like, wow. But when you did some backwards on it, this thing's been around for 8 years, before it bam, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
OP phenomenon is a time that it was, okay? And there was minimal competition, so it was able, with the right team, was able to go crazy.
You wanna go crazy? Let's go crazy!
But you got a lot of competition now, because at some point somebody's going to go, I don't care how cool you are. I can get that cheaper from somebody else. And that's the sad part. You know what I mean? That's the sad part. Where if you want to be boutiquey and rad and cool and sell these little one-offs and you want to be that way and work out of your garage and, you know, and you want to sell your limited things, rock on. You know, it's like an artist, you know, a painter. Some of them have success and some of them don't. And some of them blow up after they're dead, you know? And so, and that's the sad part, you know what I mean? It's like any musician, you know, they've been playing and doing the rounds and all of a sudden, bam, they go, oh, out of nowhere, you know, it's so-and-so. And they're going, yeah, they've been living in Nashville or Hollywood for 10 years being a busboy, you know, and made it, you know, kind of.
Yeah. I love it. What skill do you wish you had?
Photoshop. I suck at Photoshop. The only other thing I'm overly optimistic. I'll find good in every shitty situation. I'll do it, even though I should in my gut and my wife and other people going, hey, idiot, it ain't going to work. Okay. So good doing it. So
It's not gonna work!
That's one of my skill sets. I would love to have, you know, sometimes a little.
Okay. Well, this can't be the same answer. So what is your biggest weakness or fault?
I'm going to have to say I'm too optimistic. I am overly optimistic, you know, on things that I know in my mind. I've already kind of gone through scenarios and stuff like that. But that's probably my biggest weakness. I mean, I'm overly optimistic.
So a bit of a...
Yeah, everything's going to be beautiful.
What's that?
Too much of a dreamer, and it's sunny and it's always offshore and it's, you know, whatever it may be.
It never rains.
That's probably my biggest weakness. I don't know.
So your default, where your brain is in default, is always in unicorn land?
Yeah, kind of, because I love trying to think of more scenarios to get through. You know, if that's the case, you're just going to live in a glass house and you're going to go, I don't want to make a step. You know, like I said, if my dad didn't take that step, I would not be where he's at, you know, and if my dad didn't take that step and Bob McKnight and these other guys, you know, every other one of these guys, Grubby Clark coming out with a phone blank, you know, I mean, whatever, if they didn't do that, these industries wouldn't be here. You know what I mean? So, Hoffman Fabrics, you know, family friends, you know, they were woolens and basic kind of fabrics. And, you know, when Walter and Philip came in, they were living in Hawaii and doing things. And hey, we're going to do this. That's not the basic scenario, but if they didn't do that and do these things, at one point, you know, they were the kings of all Hawaiian print, or, you know, tropical prints, not Hawaiian, tropical print.
Typical tropical island.
It isn't making woolens because that's what they made in the 30s. You know what I mean? It's like you're kind of taking it and going out. It's like Levi's making only Levi's, you know, and not going to other areas and stuff like that.
All right. This is the last question.
Oh my God.
How do you define success?
He smells like success.
My thing is success is how people think of you. It's like what you said. You thought of me as a good guy, and to me, it's my family, good and bad. You know, things of business that I've done. You know, great ideas, crappy ideas, but my family is my success. My boys and surfing, and they're good kids. It's success. My wife is amazing. She's in the kind of a trade management, you know, kind of thing and stuff like that, and does these things, and she's a rock star. You know what I mean? So to me, that's my success. It isn't if anybody mentions my name and they say, oh no, he's a good guy, that's a success for me. You know, that's to me, like I appreciate what you said. I look at it the same way with you, is that Tony's is creative. You know, I mean, I'll still go back to you and making that Honolulu surf. I mean, it's one of my favorite logos. You know, and you go, yeah, I did that. I'm like going, what? Really? And it's the same thing. Your dad did this, or you know that guy or person, maybe, you know, and stuff like that. And you're going, well, that's so rad. You know what I mean? And it's neat that you get to meet people like that. You know, and on my trip to Asia, I met a guy who's recycling tires, and he came up with this engineering thing, and he recycles tires. You know, and I go. And I was more intrigued with that, you know, and they want to talk other things. I'm like, tell me how you do that, you know? So I love that there's things that are like that. That's, to me, that's success, you know?
Yeah, it's very fascinating. Well, thanks for sharing that and being transparent about that. This has been awesome. I'm going to ask you one more thing. And then after I do that, I'm going to do this. Okay. I'm going to press stop record and we're out.
Okay.
Okay.
This is the last question.
So, it's not a question.
Okay. I'm going to drink a beer now.
Okay.
Hey, I think somebody's trying to chug in my face.
There he goes. He cracked it. So I'm not going to say anything else after I say this.
Okay.
I want you to have first of all, cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. This has been really fun.
My rambling was worthwhile.
It's beautiful. I love it. So the last thing I'm going to say is that I want you to have the last word, whether you use this time to share something really genius, or you want to advertise something, or I don't care what it is you want to say, but you get the last word.
The floor is yours.
Anybody that wants to follow their dream, follow it. Okay. If you want to be a fireman or you want to work retail or whatever it may be, but if you're artistic, and everybody's artistic in some sort of a way, and if you have a dream like that, try and find it, find it what makes you happy. If it's just working, it's working. If it's doing it, it's doing it. It doesn't matter to me. Your love of your family and support is a big deal. And I think to me is that my dad always said, he goes, just work to be happy. It's hard and it's going to be a tough deal, but work to be happy. And if you don't like it, find something that makes you happy. And that's it. And it doesn't mean you're going to give up on your dreams, but sometimes just follow your heart and it'll take you to the right place. That's it. For me, that's what I've always done. I follow my heart. And now my heart has led me to a really great company called World Textiles. And I look at this as such a eye-opening opportunity. So go to worldtextiles.com. We can manufacture anything. We can make a dream come true. And that's what I really like now. I'm 64. I can design, I can merchandise, I'll think all those kind of things. But now I'd rather help and enhance with things than helping buddy. I'll be glad to help. Worldtextiles.com. Come check it out. And I'm Junior Jenks, and that's me. Cheers.